Hi, everybody. Okay, so for your homework on 1.2, we're going to be covering zero and negative exponents. All right, now zero exponents, I almost don't even want to waste time on because they're pretty easy. Okay, a zero exponent, anything to the zeroth power, anything, 8 to the zeroth power, is 1. Anything. Doesn't matter what's inside. In fact, a lot of questions will try and trick you by putting something really complicated on the inside and then taking that and raising it to the zeroth power. Well, it doesn't matter what's inside these parentheses. If you raise something to the zeroth power, your answer is always going to be 1. Okay, so we're not going to spend too much time talking about that. We're going to move on to the more complicated thing, which is negative exponents. Okay, the definition of a negative exponent is this. Okay, when you take a base, here my base is a, and you raise it to a negative exponent, it's the same equals taking the reciprocal of the base, which is 1 over a, and raising it to the positive exponent. Okay, now that sounds like that sounds like nonsense, but let's do some examples and you can see what I'm talking about. So let's do some real numbers. I'm going to take the number 3 and I'm going to raise that to the negative fourth power. Okay, now what that means is the negative exponent says take the reciprocal of 3. Well, I hope you remember that the reciprocal of 3 is going to be 1/3. Okay? Remember, to take a reciprocal, it's like taking a fraction. So if I have 2/3, if I want the reciprocal is going to be the fraction flipped. Okay, so 3, what I had to do was, in my head, I wrote 3 as 3 over 1. And then you can flip this to make the reciprocal. Okay, so 3 to the negative fourth power is going to be the same as the reciprocal of 3, which is 1/3, raised to the positive fourth power. Okay, do you see the connection here? I take the reciprocal and I get rid of the negative sign for my exponent. Okay, and once I do that, it's really not too complicated. So what I'm going to do now is raise 1/3 to the fourth power, which is going to be 1 over 3 to the fourth power, which is 1 over 81. And that's it. We're done with that problem. Let's try some more. Okay, let's do 2/5 raised to the negative third power. Okay, so again, I'm going to take the reciprocal of what's being raised, of the base. The base here is 2/5. I'll take the reciprocal of 2/5, which is going to be, just flip it, 5/2. And then I'm going to take that and raise that to the positive third power. Okay, so the negative sign is another way of saying, in the exponent, is a way of saying reciprocal. Okay. All right, so this is going to be, your exponent rules tell you to take the numerator and raise it to the third power, and the denominator and raise it to the third power. And our answer is going to be 125 over 8. Done. Let's try one more. Now, I don't think your book does this, but if you get a problem like this where you have to raise a decimal, okay? So let's say 0.7 to the negative second power. Anytime you're raising something to a negative power, you have to turn it into a fraction so you can find the reciprocal. Okay, so 0.7 is the same as 7/10. So this is really saying 7/10 to the negative second power. Take the reciprocal, 10 over 7, and then raise that to the second power. 10 to the second over 7 to the second is equal to 100 over 49. Okay. Okay. Let's do some that have some variables. Okay, let's say that I have x to the third power times y to the negative second power. And I'm going to take this product and I'm going to raise that to the negative second power. Okay, now before you start worrying about this negative exponent inside the parentheses, let's go ahead and use our exponent rules, because what we're really doing is we're raising a product, x to the third times y to the negative second, and we're raising that to a power. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of distribute this exponent. So our answer is going to be, or I guess I could say the next step is going to be x to the third to the negative second power times y to the negative second power raised to the negative second power. Okay, here I'm raising a power to a power, so we're going to multiply our exponents, and that's going to be x to the negative sixth times negative 2 times negative 2 is y to the positive fourth. Okay, and now I have to deal with this sign. Usually in these problems, I didn't say this before, but usually in this problem, these types of problems, you want to have all positive exponents in your answer. Okay, so this here is going to be the reciprocal. I'll take the reciprocal, that's 1 over x, and then I raise that to the sixth power, positive sixth power. And don't forget, we still have this y to the fourth. Okay, 1 over x to the sixth power is going to be 1 over x to the sixth power times y to the fourth, and this is just going to be equal. You can kind of see what happens here, that the x is going to stay in the denominator. So our answer is going to be y to the fourth, x to the sixth. Okay, now I want to do another problem like that, because I don't think I explained that quite clearly enough. When you have, let's say we have a fraction like this, x to the negative second over y to the negative third. Okay, the easy way of doing problems like this, I mean, you can go and you can say, all right, the top of this fraction is 1 over x to the positive second power, and the bottom of this fraction is going to be 1 over y to the third power. Okay, and you can already see that this is kind of getting to be a mess. So now this is going to be 1 over x squared, and the bottom is going to be 1 over y to the third power. Okay, so I'm dividing a fraction by a fraction. So I'm going to flip and multiply this fraction here. So this is 1 over x squared times, if I flip this over, it's going to be, let's be consistent and use a dot here, y to the third over 1. And what I get is y to the third over x squared. Now you could go through all that work, but I just want you to know that when you have things in a fraction like this and they're raised to a negative power, you basically just flip them to the other side, just like I took this x to the negative 2. I flipped it to the denominator. It was in the numerator, and I flipped it to the denominator. So it went from here down to here, and I lost the negative sign in the exponent. Okay, so that's kind of what the negative sign does. It flips things around. So if you have something in the numerator, it's going to flip down to the denominator. If you have something that starts in the denominator and it has a negative exponent, it's going to flip around to the numerator and lose the negative sign. Okay, I hope that helped. Ruin the whole video with the last couple of seconds.